Thank you, Madam President. Excelencias, buenas tardes. Es un honor reencontrarme en la que ha sido mi casa durante gran parte de mi vida. Como representante permanente, como ministra de Relaciones Exteriores y como presidenta de la Asamblea General. Este es el sentimiento que los 8,000 millones de personas que ustedes representan deberían tener, que las Naciones Unidas son su hogar, que nos pertenecen a todos. Por eso quiero hablar con franqueza el día de hoy, porque nuestros pueblos sienten las brechas entre las promesas que hacemos y las necesidades de su vida diaria. As Foreign Minister of Ecuador, I hosted talks between the Colombian government and the ELN. I am also a poet, so I know words matter. They have consequences. They can provide hope, we, the peoples. But without action, words are empty. This room, the Trusteeship Council chamber, is a powerful reminder of what we can achieve when we unite around a common purpose, supporting member states on their path to peace, to sovereignty and dignity, rebuilding lives, economies, and dreams. The purposes and principles of the Charter are as relevant today as they were in 1945, perhaps even more so in this age of complexity. When hard-won progress is under threat, when our systems seem past their prime, when new challenges risk undermining cooperation, when the need has never been greater. That is why we need a UN that everyone can count on. Because no nation is immune to geopolitics and geoeconomics. No nation should bear the burden of acting alone. No nation should be excluded from the benefits that will emerge if, and only if, we work together. The need for the UN remains undeniable, yet too often the UN is missing in action or relegated to the sidelines. Too often it is slow, fragmented, and constrained. Financial pressures are not the cause. They are the consequence of deeper challenges. The UN needs to rebuild credibility and show, not just say, that it can deliver real change, be a trusted partner, and add value. I have worked across the UN's pillars and regions. I know the organization inside out, but have never been part of the UN system. I understand its strengths, constraints, and dynamics. I understand its critics. Even them believe in its huge potential. It is up to us to work together to prove the organization's value. I have presided over the most representative body in the world, this assembly. I come from the ranks of member states. I have the vision, the stamina, the conviction to serve you all with impartiality and impact. Excellencies, we cannot carry on like this. We must seize this opportunity to build a more effective and trusted UN. Too often we spend our time diagnosing the problems instead of forging solutions. I am deeply honored to be supported by Antigua and Barbuda. Like so many small states, including my own, Ecuador, they have made an outstanding contribution to the UN. A Secretary General needs to lead as well as listen. That is why, before deciding to pursue my candidacy, I listened to many of you. And after listening, my vision centers on 4 key transformations with proposals that are ready for implementation with member states' blessing, of course. First, We must act early, before crises erupt and the space for diplomacy closes. We must recenter prevention, mediation, and early action as our primary aim. We must make peace possible again. I will establish a prevention and early action hub in my office to ensure that early warnings lead to timely responses. I will work with the Security Council, the primary UN body tasked with the maintenance of peace and security. The Secretary General and her good offices must be ready to go when and where you need. And I will ensure the UN anticipates and actively manages the global fallout from conflicts, from humanitarian diplomacy, terrorism, and organized crime, to energy shocks, food insecurity, and inflation. This cannot be an afterthought. It must be embedded into our response. Second, we must deliver. The Sustainable Development Goals reflect our shared ambition, but ambition does not feed our children. It does not address debt payments and lack of concessional finance. It does not protect small islands from rising sea levels or reduce trade costs for landlocked developing countries. As Secretary General, I will work with member states to assess where progress remains possible, drawing on the UN's analytical capacities and deploying AI tools alongside the deep experience of our staff. I will champion fiscal space for national governments. The UN is not the main forum for finance, debt, or trade, but it can be better at convening and as a supporting actor. I will connect the dots between different groups and meetings, reflect the views of those not in the room, and work with all governments, north and south, east and west, to find ways to move forward. I will also consult member states on a new development approach, one that strengthens national sovereignty while rationalizing the UN's budget and bureaucracy. Development cannot be designed in New York. It must be demand-driven and nationally led. Instead of looking for funds to sustain large programs, we need to focus on a managed transition to a leaner UN that supports national actors. Third, we must leverage our convening superpower. Energy, technology, and demographic changes are reshaping our world at extraordinary pace. The UN is the only forum where all countries can come together to discuss the risks and the opportunities. I will work tirelessly to use the convening power of the UN and of the Secretary General. On energy, for example, energy issues are fragmented across the UN. I will improve energy security coordination within the UN system to support member states in addressing shocks and supply chain disruption. On technology, we should build on the Digital Compact and global dialogue on AI. The world benefits most when AI advances responsibly and fosters prosperity. The UN must support AI for the future, not the few. Fourth, we must prove our value every day. The United Nations must be judged by how many lives it saves and improves. Every reform effort, management decision, and budget discussion must be in service of peace, development, and human rights. If not, we must be brave enough to stop and change course. That will be my guiding principle, building, of course, on the UN80 process. Excellence, en ces temps complexes, il est nécessaire de dépasser la vision binaire, secrétaire ou générale. En tant que chef de l'administration, je m'efforcerai de bâtir une organisation unie et non une collection d'entités en concurrence pour les ressources. Je demeure ambassadeur mondial, facilitateur et intermédiaire impartial. Je servirai tous les États membres sans discrimination. La secrétaire générale ne doit jamais devenir la représentante d'un bloc, d'une région ou d'un quelconque alignement géopolitique. Étant également artisane de la paix, je placerai la prévention au cœur de mon action et m'attacherai à préserver l'espace politique du dialogue, à renforcer la médiation, à soutenir les initiatives de paix et les casques bleus, et à veiller à ce que l'organisation agisse avant que les crises ne dégénèrent en conflits et les conflits en catastrophes. Excellencies, on this constrained geopolitical and financial environment, our choices can feel zero-sum. Sovereignty or cooperation, principles or pragmatism, cutting costs or saving lives. We must not give into cynicism. International law upholds sovereignty. Human rights support peace. Educating girls boosts development. There are still win-wins. We can shrink the UN responsibly while strengthening national ownership and delivery and restoring faith in the UN and, of course, in a better future. Excellencies, on this day, 15 June, the Magna Carta was sealed by England's King John. Pioneering French painter Charles de la Fosse was born. Russia made history with its Venus space probe. Benjamin Franklin's scientific discovery changed the course of the world. The Shanghai Cooperation Organization was established, and importantly, the G77 was formed. Every country brings their proud history to the United Nations. That is our strength. No Secretary General succeeds alone. The future of the UN depends on the collective commitment of member states and the dedication of its staff. I am under no illusion about the difficulties ahead. Yet I remain optimistic because I have seen what this organization can achieve and the hope it continues to inspire. Muchas gracias y espero continuar la conversación con ustedes.